The airlock hissed open and I stumbled through with blood running down my temple. The HFY warship smelled like iron and something floral I couldn't name. My hands were bound with energy cuffs that hummed against my wrists. 2 guards flanked me, their forearms ending in claws that could tear through hull plating. I kept my breathing steady even though my heart hammered against my ribs. They led me down a corridor that curved with the ship's geometry. Other HFY moved past us, their chitinous armor gleaming under bioluminescent strips. Some paused to watch. None spoke. The silence felt heavier than any interrogation. We stopped at a massive door carved with symbols I couldn't read. One guard pressed a palm to the surface and it split open without sound. The chamber beyond stretched 3 stories high. At its center sat a throne made from what looked like crystallized bone. On it perched Queen Ashvara, her carapace a deep violet that shifted to black at the edges. 6 eyes arranged in 2 rows regarded me with an intelligence that made my skin crawl. To her left stood a containment pod. My breath caught. Inside the pod floated a human woman suspended in translucent gel. Her eyes were closed. Tubes ran into her arms and neck. Dark hair drifted around her face like seaweed. "Sarah," I whispered. "You recognize this specimen?" The Queen's voice came from everywhere and nowhere, translated through technology one couldn't see. Interesting. I took a step forward and the guards seized my arms. Their claws pressed into my skin just short of breaking it. "She's not a specimen. She's my wife." "Was," the Queen corrected. "Before we found her drifting in an escape pod near the Terminus Station wreckage. Before we repaired her body. Before we discovered the neural damage caused by oxygen deprivation." She rose from the throne and descended the steps with fluid grace. Each footfall clicked against stone. "She has no memory of anything. No language. No understanding of self. She is a blank archive." My throat tightened. "Let me see her." "You misunderstand your position, human. You are a prisoner of war. She is a subject of scientific interest. Neither of you has value beyond what you provide to the HFY collective." I met her gaze and held it. 6 eyes against 2. "Then, why did you bring me here?" The Queen stopped 3 meters away. Her mandibles clicked twice. "Because she makes sounds. Vocalizations without meaning. Our linguists cannot decipher them. Our neural specialists cannot explain their persistence despite complete memory loss." She tilted her head in a gesture that might have been curiosity. "But when we played recordings of interrogations from human prisoners, her vital signs changed only during yours." Something cold and sharp moved through my chest. "You're saying she remembers me?" "I am saying her damaged brain responds to your voice frequency in ways we do not understand. This troubles me. So I will conduct an experiment." The Queen gestured and the guards released me. "You will speak to her. We will observe. If she responds meaningfully, you both may prove useful. If not, you will be processed with the other prisoners." The guards pushed me toward the pod. I caught myself against the curved surface and pressed my palm to it. The gel felt warm. Sarah floated just beyond the barrier, her face peaceful. She looked thinner than I remembered. A scar ran along her collarbone that hadn't been there before. "Sarah," I said quietly. "It's me. It's David." Nothing changed. Her eyes stayed closed. The monitors attached to the pod showed steady readings. "I know you can't remember right now. I know everything feels empty." My voice cracked. "But you're not alone. I'm here. I found you." One of the monitors beeped. The Queen moved closer. "When we met, you punched me in the face during a zero-G training exercise because I grabbed the wrong handhold and knocked into you. You said sorry by buying me coffee that tasted like engine lubricant. We drank it anyway." I pressed my forehead against the pod. "You used to sing off-key in the shower. You were terrible at poker, but you'd bluff anyway because you said the risk was worth it. You saved 17 people during the station evacuation before your pod malfunctioned." Sarah's fingers twitched. "Keep talking," the Queen commanded. "You made me promise that if anything happened, If we got separated, I wouldn't stop looking. You said you know me anywhere? By voice, by touch, by the way I breathe. Tears blurred my vision. You said love doesn't live in memory. It lives deeper. Sarah's eyes opened. They were unfocused at first, pupils dilating and contracting as if adjusting to light. Then they found me through the gel and barrier. Her lips moved but no sound escaped the pod. Release her, I said. Absolutely not. She is unstable. She could be violent. Then, you'll never know if your experiment worked. The Queen's mandibles clicked rapidly. A sign of agitation. Behind me I heard weapons charging. But the Queen raised one clawed hand and the sound stopped. If she attacks, you both die. Understood. The Queen touched a control panel. The gel began draining. Sarah sank slowly until her feet touched the bottom of the pod. The tubes detached with wet sounds that made my stomach turn. The barrier dissolved into mist. Sarah stood there naked and, shivering, arms wrapped around herself. Her eyes never left my face. I stepped forward carefully. Hey! She opened her mouth and a sound came out. Broken. Uncertain. But shaped like a word. D. I stopped breathing. David. My name. She said my name. Then she collapsed and I caught her. The Queen watched in absolute silence as I lowered Sarah to the floor and held her. She was shaking violently, her breath coming in gasps. I pulled off my jacket and wrapped it around her shoulders. I've got you, I whispered. You're safe now. Sarah's hand gripped my shirt with desperate strength. She looked up at me and tears streamed down her face. When she spoke again, her voice was raw but clear. I heard you. In the dark. I heard you calling me. The Queen descended the final steps and stood over us. Her shadow fell across Sarah's face. This should not be possible. Complete memory erasure does not allow for recognition. There is no neural pathway that should connect voice to identity without contextual memory. Maybe you don't understand humans as well as you think. I met her gaze again. Maybe there are things you can't measure. Perhaps. The Queen's tone carried something new. Not quite respect but close to it. Or perhaps your species is more resilient than our intelligence suggested. She turned away and moved toward the throne. You will both be confined to medical quarters under observation. My scientists will want to study this phenomenon. We're not experiments. The Queen paused mid-step. When she looked back, one of her middle eyes focused on me with unnerving precision. No. You are variables in a calculation I have not yet solved. That makes you infinitely more interesting than experiments. She settled onto her throne. And infinitely more dangerous to my assumptions about your kind. Guards moved forward, but these were different. Medical staff based on the emblems on their armor. They carried a stretcher. I helped them lift Sarah onto it, though she wouldn't release my hand. Don't leave, she whispered. Never. As they carried us from the throne room, I looked back once. Queen Ashvara sat motionless, all 6 eyes tracking our movement. In that moment I understood we'd become something neither side expected. Not prisoners. Not specimens. Something that challenged the very premise of the war. Sarah squeezed my hand. Tell me more. About us. Everything. I promised. I'll tell you everything. The doors sealed behind us, and the last thing I saw was the Queen leaning forward, listening. The medical quarters were sterile and efficient. White walls. Monitoring equipment. A bed designed for human physiology, which meant the Keshri had been studying us long before the war began. They laid Sarah on it, and immediately began attaching sensors. She flinched at each touch but kept her eyes on me. I stood beside the bed until one of the medical staff gently but firmly pushed me into a chair. A doctor approached, smaller than the guards but with more elaborate markings on her carapace. She examined Sarah with instruments that hummed and clicked. Remarkable, the doctor said through her translator. Neural activity in regions we believed permanently damaged. New pathway formation in real time. She looked at me. What did you do? I talked to her. Sound waves do not regenerate brain tissue. Maybe not for you. The doctor's antennae twitched. You believe emotion has physical properties? I believe love is more than chemistry. I reached out and Sarah immediately grabbed my hand. Her pulse monitor spiked then, stabilized. See? The doctor made notes on a holographic display. The Queen will want detailed reports. This changes variables in ongoing neuro research. We're not here for your research. We're here because you made us prisoners. You were prisoners. Now you are anomalies. The doctor administered something through an injection port that made Sarah's breathing ease. Your status has shifted. The Queen does not tolerate mysteries. She will either solve you or eliminate you. I suggest you hope for the former. Sarah's grip tightened. David. I'm scared. I moved to the bed and sat on its edge. The guards tensed but didn't intervene. I brushed hair from Sarah's forehead. I know. But you came back. You found your way through everything they did and you came back. I don't remember most of it. Everything before waking up is just darkness, and your voice somewhere in it. Her eyes searched mine desperately. Tell me who I am. Tell me who we are. So I did. I told her about the academy where we met. About the first mission where she'd saved my life by spotting a reactor leak nobody else noticed. About the night I proposed using a ring I'd bartered for with 3 months of dessert rations. About the small apartment on Station 7 where we planned futures we'd never get to see. She listened without interrupting. Tears tracked down her face, but she never looked away. Some of it sparked recognition in her eyes. Most remained foreign. But she held on to every word like a lifeline. The station. She whispered. I remember fire. Screaming. The pod door wouldn't seal properly. You got 17 people out first. You always put others ahead of yourself. Did you make it out? Different pod. Different trajectory. I've been looking for you for 8 months. Sarah's expression crumbled. 8 months? Every day. Every lead. Every rumor about Keshri prisoner ships. I squeezed her hand. I interrogated black market traders. Hacked military databases. Stowed away on 3 different vessels. Got captured 2 days ago trying to infiltrate this ship because intelligence said you might be here. You're insane. You made me promise. A sound escaped her that might have been a laugh or a sob. That sounds like something I'd do. The doctor approached again. She needs rest. The neurorestoration is taxing her system. I'm not leaving her. I did not suggest you should. The doctor adjusted something on Sarah's fore. The Queen has authorized joint containment for observation purposes. You will both remain here under guard. Sarah's eyes were already closing. The medication worked fast. But she fought it long enough to whisper. More stories. When I wake up. Tell me everything. Every single thing. She drifted off holding my hand. I sat there watching her breathe, matching my rhythm to hers without thinking about it. The same way we'd slept in our narrow bunk on the station. The same way we'd breathed through fear during combat drills. Muscle memory that transcended consciousness. The doctor observed this with obvious interest. Your species forms bonds that override survival instinct. Inefficient. Or maybe it's the only thing that makes survival worthwhile. Philosophy. The doctor's tone suggested dismissal. The Queen prefers data. Then tell her this is data. Whatever you did to Sarah's brain, you couldn't erase what we built. That should terrify you more than any weapon we have. The doctor went still. Even her antennae stopped moving. Why? Because it means we're not just fighting for territory or resources. We're fighting for something you can't quantify or destroy. I looked at Sarah's sleeping face. And that makes us unpredictable. The doctor left without responding. The guards remained posted at the door, impassive and silent. I settled into the chair and tried to ignore the exhaustion pulling at me. Sleep felt dangerous. Like if I closed my eyes, Sarah might disappear again. But hours passed and nothing changed except the light dimming to what the Keshri probably thought was human night cycle. Sarah slept deeply, her vitals steady on the monitors. I must have dozed because I jerked awake to find Queen Ashvara standing over me. I shot to my feet, every nerve firing. How did you, my ship? My movements are unquestioned. She looked at Sarah then, back at me. I have been reviewing footage of your arrival. Of the interrogations. Of this reunion. And? You presented yourself for capture deliberately. The evidence is clear. You sabotaged your own stealth approach to ensure we'd detect you. No point lying. Yes. Because you believed we had her. Because I knew I'd never get aboard any other way. And I was right. The Queen's mandibles clicked softly. Sacrificing yourself for uncertain intelligence. Accepting torture and possible death for a probability rather than a certainty. Your species is either profoundly brave or catastrophically foolish. Maybe both. Indeed. She moved closer to Sarah's bed. I tensed but forced myself not to intervene. The Queen studied Sarah with clinical precision. Her recovery violates our understanding of neural damage. This interests my scientists greatly. They wish to know if the phenomenon is replicable. You want to experiment on other prisoners. I want to understand an unexpected variable in a war we are currently winning. The Queen turned to face me fully. Your species fights with desperation and innovation, but you lack our resources and coordination. Within 2 years we will control all disputed sectors. Within 5 we will have dominance over human space. This is mathematical certainty. Unless we're more resilient than you calculated. Precisely. One of her middle eyes focused with that same unnerving precision. You represent a question. If emotional bonds can override physical trauma and memory erasure, what other assumptions about human weakness might be incorrect? I stayed silent. Let her work through it. I am going to make a proposal, she continued. You will cooperate with our research. Submit to questioning. Allow us to study your interaction with her. In exchange, you will both receive medical care, proper quarters, and provisional freedom aboard this ship. We'd still be prisoners. You would be protected assets. A significant distinction in wartime. Why? Why does this matter so much to you? The Queen was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice carried something almost like uncertainty. Because I watched her remember you. I watched impossible biology occur through nothing but recognition. If this can happen once, it can happen again. And if your species can survive our most thorough methods of pacification through nothing but emotional connection, then we have not understood our enemy at all. Her eyes held mine. And I do not enter battles I do not fully comprehend. Sarah stirred. Her eyes opened slowly and immediately found me. David? Right here. She looked past me and saw the Queen. Every muscle in her body went rigid. What easy? I said quickly. Easy. You're safe. That's the alien Queen. From the throne room. I remember her. Sarah's breathing accelerated. Why is she here? Queen Ashvara spoke directly to her. Because you are an impossibility that requires explanation. Because you should not have been able to say his name. Because your survival challenges assumptions I have held about your species since this war began. Sarah looked at me for translation. She wants to understand how you remembered me. I said. She's offering us a deal. Cooperation in exchange for protection. What kind of cooperation? Tests. Questions. Observation. Sarah pushed herself up despite my attempt to ease her back down. She looked at the Queen with clear eyes. And if we refuse? Then, you return to standard prisoner status, and I will never know if what I witnessed was unique or reproducible. The Queen tilted her head. But you should know that I do not offer such arrangements lightly. And I do not make them to those I consider expendable. Sarah's hand found mine. She was trembling, but her voice stayed steady. If we do this, other prisoners get the same medical care we do. Not just humans. Any species you're holding. The Queen's antennae lifted. You bargained for strangers? I bargained for the principle. If we're proving humans are resilient, prove the Keshri are honorable. Silence stretched between them. I watched the Queen's mandibles work as she processed this. Finally, she dipped her head in what might have been a nod. Agreed. All prisoners will receive medical evaluation and care equivalent to military standards. But if you or your mate prove deceptive or dangerous, the agreement ends immediately. We're not warriors, I said. We're engineers. We don't want to fight. We just want to survive this. Then we share a goal. The Queen moved toward the door. Rest. Tomorrow my scientists will begin their work. I suggest you prepare yourselves for extensive questioning. She left as silently as she'd arrived. The door sealed and Sarah let out a breath she'd been holding. Did that really just happen? Yeah. Did I just negotiate with an alien queen while wearing your jacket, and nothing else? Yeah. Sarah started laughing. It came out broken and slightly hysterical but real. I pulled her close and felt the laughter turn into sobs against my shoulder. I held her through it, rocking slightly, murmuring nonsense that meant everything. When she finally pulled back, her eyes were red but clearer. Tell me something true. Something I should know about myself. I thought about it. You hate giving up. On anything. On anyone. Even when it's logical or safe to walk away, you dig in and fight. It's maddening and beautiful, and it's exactly why you're still alive. Sarah touched my face. Her fingers traced my jaw like she was memorizing it through touch. I don't remember loving you. But I feel it anyway. Does that make sense? Perfect sense. Good. She leaned her forehead against mine. Because I'm going to need that feeling to get through whatever comes next. We stayed like that until exhaustion pulled us both under. The guards never moved. The monitors hummed their steady rhythm. And somewhere in the ship's vast architecture the Queen watched through cameras and contemplated impossible biology and the variables of war. When morning came, defined only by the lights brightening to full spectrum, the doctors arrived with equipment and questions. They were thorough and surprisingly gentle. They scanned Sarah's brain and marveled at the new neural growth. They recorded us talking, catalogued our physiological responses to proximity, measured stress hormones and bonding chemicals. Through it all, Sarah held my hand and answered their questions with patient clarity. She described the darkness of forgetting. The sensation of my voice as the only anchor in empty space. The moment recognition clicked despite having no memory to support it. The doctors took notes frantically. They brought the Queen updated reports hourly. And slowly, carefully, the nature of our imprisonment shifted. They moved us to better quarters. Still guarded but with a viewport that showed stars. They brought Sarah clothes that fit, and food that resembled human nutrition. They allowed us privacy at night, though I knew we were being monitored. Sarah regained strength daily. With it came fragments of memory, scattered and nonlinear. She'd remember a color or a taste, and I'd help her place it. She'd describe a feeling, and I'd tell her the story behind it. We rebuilt her past piece by piece through collaborative archaeology. I remember music, she said one evening. We sat together on the narrow bed watching distant stars drift past. Something with strings. Violins, maybe. It made me cry, but I don't know why. Our first anniversary. I surprised you with a shuttle trip to the Orpheus station. There was a concert in the observation dome. They played Barber's Adagio for strings while we watched the nebula. Sarah closed her eyes. I can almost feel it. The music. Your arm around me. The colors outside. You said it was the most beautiful thing you'd ever seen. Was I right? Second most beautiful. You were first. She smiled and kissed me. It felt like coming home and meeting someone new at the same time. When we broke apart, she stayed close. I'm different now. You know that, right? Even if I remember everything, I won't be exactly who I was. I know. Does that scare you? No. I brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. I fell in love with who you are. Not who you were or who you'll be. If that changes, I'll fall in love again. Sarah's eyes glistened. The Queen was right. Your species is either brave or foolish. She forgot the third option. What's that? Stubborn. She laughed, and the sound filled the small room with warmth. Outside the viewport, a Keshri patrol ship drifted past on some unknown mission. Inside, we existed in a strange bubble of safety carved from cooperation and curiosity. 3 weeks passed in this liminal space. Sarah's memories returned in fragments and flashes. The doctors declared her neuroregeneration unprecedented and petitioned the Queen to expand research to other trauma cases. True to her word, Ashvara authorized medical intervention for prisoners showing similar damage. I watched Sarah grow stronger and simultaneously struggled with the surreal nature of our situation. We were prisoners who negotiated, test subjects who set terms, enemies who'd become something else through circumstance and necessity. The Queen summoned us on the 23rd day. We were escorted to a smaller chamber, intimate by Keshri standards. She waited alone, no guards, no scientists. Just her on a simple seat with all 6 eyes fixed on us as we entered. Sit, she commanded. We sat on cushions clearly designed for humans. Another small gesture that carried weight. My scientists have presented their findings. Your case is unique, but the principles appear sound. Emotional bonds create neural resilience we did not account for. This has significant implications. The Queen leaned forward. But I did not summon you for a report. I summoned you because I have a question that data cannot answer. I waited. Sarah gripped my hand. Why did you believe you could find her? Not hope. Believe. What calculation did you make that justified such a logical action? I considered the question carefully. No calculation. Just certainty. The kind that doesn't need proof. Faith. If you want to call it that. And you? The Queen's attention shifted to Sarah. You clawed your way back from complete erasure toward a voice with no context. What drove that? What force operates without memory or reason? Sarah spoke quietly. Recognition deeper than thought. Like how you know to breathe. I didn't remember him. I knew him. Past knowing. The Queen was silent for a long time. Her mandibles worked slowly. When she spoke again, her voice carried something I hadn't heard before. Doubt. I am centuries old. I have commanded fleets. Conquered systems. Studied 1,000 species. But I have never encountered a force I could not measure or model. She rose and approached us. Until now. Until this. She stopped directly before Sarah and did something that made my breath catch. She touched Sarah's face with one claw, gentle as morning light. Your species terrifies me. Not your weapons. Not your tactics. Your capacity for irrational loyalty and impossible recovery. These cannot be bombed or negotiated. They simply exist. And I do not know how to fight what I cannot understand. Sarah met the Queen's gaze without flinching. Then maybe stop fighting. Peace is not decided by individual will. No. But understanding is. The Queen withdrew her claw. I am returning you both to human space. You will be released at the neutral zone with medical records and testimony about your treatment. In exchange, you will carry a message. What message? I asked. That the Keshri are not the enemy you believe we are. That we seek resource balance, not genocide. That this war serves neither side's true interests. The Queen returned to her seat. And that Queen Ashvara is willing to negotiate with human leadership if they demonstrate the same resilience and wisdom I have witnessed in these chambers. Sarah and I looked at each other. The implications crashed over me in waves. You're serious, I said. I do not make offers I do not intend to honor. You have shown me variables I did not know existed. Your species may be impossible to conquer through traditional means. Better then, to find alternative arrangements. Our people won't trust us. They'll think we're compromised. Perhaps. But you will tell them what you experienced. And some will listen. And that may be sufficient to begin what needs beginning. The Queen stood. You leave in 2 hours. Gather whatever you wish to take. You will not be restrained or monitored during transfer. We were dismissed. Guards escorted us back to our quarters where our few belongings waited in a small pack. Sarah sat on the bed looking dazed. This is real, she whispered. Apparently. We're going home. Yeah. She started crying. Not from sadness. From release. From the impossibility of it all. I held her and felt my own tears come. 2 hours later we stood in a shuttle bay. The Queen waited there personally. She approached one final time. I watched her remember you, Ashvara said quietly. It changed my understanding of what is possible. Perhaps it will change others as well. She looked at Sarah. You were lost. You came back. Remember that when you speak of us. Remember that we could have kept you. We chose differently. I'll remember. Sarah promised. And you? The Queen fixed me with that unnerving multi-eyed stare. You invaded my ship. Risked everything. Refused every logical reason to abandon hope. Your species will need that same foolish bravery in the days ahead. Do not lose it to cynicism or despair. I won't. The Queen stepped back. Then go. Carry our message. Begin the difficult work of transformation. And know that somewhere in the dark between stars, one who is your enemy counts herself as something different now. We boarded the shuttle. The bay doors opened on infinite space. The pilot, a young Keshri who hadn't spoken, activated the launch sequence. As we pulled away, I looked back at the warship growing smaller behind us. Somewhere in that vessel Sarah had been lost and found. Somewhere in those corridors assumptions had shattered. Somewhere in that throne room the course of a war had shifted by degrees too small to measure and too significant to ignore. Sarah leaned against me. What do we tell them? When we get back? The truth. All of it. They won't believe us. Some will. That's enough. She took my hand and pressed it to her chest. I felt her heartbeat strong and steady. I still don't remember everything. I might never remember it all. I know. But I remember what matters. I remember you. I remember coming back. I remember choosing to be brave when everything else was empty. She looked at me. That's enough, right? To start building from? More than enough. The shuttle accelerated toward human space. Behind us the Keshri fleet continued its endless patrol. Ahead of us waited uncertainty and hope in equal measure. Between those extremes we existed, two people who'd found each other across impossible distance and defied every logical outcome. The stars streamed past. Sarah fell asleep against my shoulder. I stayed awake, memorizing this moment. The weight of her. The sound of her breathing. The miracle of her continued existence. Somewhere behind us Queen Ashvara watched on monitors and considered the variables of peace. Somewhere ahead our people prepared for war without knowing the message we carried. And here in the narrow space between enemies we breathed together and held on. The pilot spoke for the first time. Transition to neutral zone in 20 minutes. Acknowledged, I said. Sarah stirred. Almost there? Almost. She sat up and looked out the viewport at the growing constellation of human station lights. It's beautiful. Welcome home. She smiled. Fragile and certain and entirely her own. We made it. We did. Against every odd. Against everything. Sarah kissed me once more, soft and brief. Then, let's go tell them what's possible. Let's show them what we learned. Let's be the proof that something besides war can exist. Together? Always. The shuttle descended toward the neutral station. Toward questions and disbelief and the beginning of something that might one day be called peace. We held hands through the docking sequence. Through the airlock cycling. Through the moment the doors opened and human voices called out in alarm and welcome. I told them we came with a message. Sarah told them we came with hope. Together we told them about a queen who watched a woman remember and chose curiosity over conquest. Whether they believed us would determine the shape of what came next. But we had each other. We had our story. We had the truth of impossible resilience. And sometimes, that's enough to change everything. 2/2